I am Stefanie Bergh, and I am the District Wildlife Biologist for the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife. I'm based out of White Salmon, and today we're out here at the Friends of the Gorge Land Trust Alashík Preserve. This area is one of 4 northwestern pond turtle sites in the Columbia River Gorge, and there's only 6 sites in the entire state of Washington. So these turtles are state endangered. And what we're trying to do, our agency, along with many partners, is to recover the northwestern pond turtle. And this site, along with one other, are the only 2 remaining populations of northwestern pond turtle when we went looking for pond turtles in the 1980s and 90s. So this is a really special place as being one of the 2 kind of original northwestern pond turtle sites in the state of Washington. So in terms of those 4 sites, WDFW only owns the land at one of the sites. The other 3 sites are owned by different landowners. One of those is the Friends of the Gorge Land Trust. So we are working collaboratively with the Friends, along with other partners, federal and state partners. So the main threats for northwestern pond turtles are really now, the time that we're in now, are bullfrogs, which are not native to the Northwest, and disease. Prior to that, it's really been habitat loss. And so we think that the reason why there were only 2 populations when we went looking for them in the 80s and 90s is because of habitat loss. So now that we've established these 4 sites in the gorge, we're working on habitat. The Friends of the Gorge Land Trust is working hard on improving the habitat for the turtles. The 2 main threats that we really need to work on right now are those invasive bullfrogs and the disease. And with the bullfrogs, they are basically predating, so they're eating the hatchling northwestern pond turtles. And those turtles are about this big, kind of the size of a silver dollar. They hatch out of their nests and then they walk down to the ponds. And when they're that small, they're not very good at swimming. They're not very quick. They're kind of like little bobbers. So the bullfrogs, if they're present, can just scoop up all these tiny turtles. And when that happens, you basically have no recruitment. Recruitment is adding new turtles into the population to grow into adults. So it's crucial for us to be doing that activity. Alashík in particular, we knew that there were bullfrogs here, and prior to the Friends owning it, we knew that those bullfrogs were expanding into the other turtle sites that we have here, the other ponds. And so if we didn't get permission or purchase the land or convince the landowners to do that bullfrog removal, we would always have issues with bullfrogs invading from the ponds at Alashík to the other ponds. So Alashík is also important because it's one of the pieces in the puzzle of this area that we're in, along with Turtle Haven, Alashík, and U.S. Forest Service lands. It makes up this large complex of ponds, and the turtles can move between those ponds along with the bullfrogs, but allows for connectivity between all the ponds for the turtles. In terms of disease, the threat is very large right now, and it's kind of unknown. So we figured out kind of around 2010, 2012, that there was something that wasn't looking right with the turtle shells. And since then, we've done a lot of research. We've had a lot of help from experts across the country, really, in trying to figure out what's going on with this disease. So we simply call it shell disease. We know that there's a fungus associated with that shell disease. And what happens is that the turtles get the disease, and it literally, the fungus eats through their shells, and so they have holes in their shells. The fungus can grow and penetrate into their body cavities, like into where their lungs are, onto their spinal cord. It can get pretty devastating for the turtles once it progresses. So we're still trying to learn about that, figure out, is there a way to treat it? Is there a way to prevent it? What exactly does cause it? How is that pathology working? And so there's still a lot yet to learn. Unfortunately, now they're seeing this fungus in turtles across the country. Also, we do still participate in a program called Head Starting. And the purpose of the Head Starting is to take those little silver dollar bobbers and grow them big enough to be able to escape predation by bullfrogs. So we do that by collecting the little hatchlings in the pond in the spring, and we bring them to the Oregon Zoo, and the Oregon Zoo raises them over the winter when they normally be hibernating, and they grow them big enough, about like this big, and then we release them that following spring. So they spend about a year at the Oregon Zoo being taken care of really well, and then release them into the pond when they're strong swimmers and can swim away from those bullfrogs. In terms of habitat, things that we want to do are provide, obviously, protection for the ponds that these turtles are in, not having human disturbance, also making sure that the uplands as well as the pond is protected. These turtles, they will leave the pond to lay their nests. So they'll actually, the females in the summer will walk out of the pond, and they can walk fairly far, find the right place that seems really good to them, that has some nice sun, and they'll dig their nest and then come back into the pond. So they're called pond turtles, but they need both upland and pond habitats. So the Friends Land Trust has actually been working very hard at Turtle Haven to improve a lot of those nesting areas. They were overgrown by blackberries and other non-native species. And so kind of returning that to an open area that's filled with native grasses and forbs is beneficial for the turtles to nest. The other thing that the turtles need is to be able to bask. They are turtles, so they need to sit in the sun and get some warmth and energy from the sun. So if you'll notice on this pond, right here, there's not a lot of places where a lot of logs where a turtle could lay in the sun. So we've had some school groups build some basking structures, and we're just out here today installing those basking structures into the pond so that the turtles have more places to go to do that basking and thermoregulation that's so important to them. So the way that we monitor the turtle populations is that since we have 4 sites in the gorge, we'll go to one of those populations each year and we'll do a population estimate. In order to get that population estimate, we're going to be putting turtle traps in the water, and we do that for about 3 weeks, 21 days worth of time, and we're just checking the traps every single day and pulling the turtles out of the traps and identifying them. So as far as we know, all of the northwestern pond turtles that we've ever encountered, we've ever had in our hand, are marked on their shells. There's a numbering system to their shells, and so we know an individual turtle. So then we come back the next day and check the traps. We'll see that turtle again, and we'll know that it's there. When we do that, also we'll know how many new turtles we encounter. How many of these young turtles have been able to escape bullfrog predation, other predation, or things that happen in the beginning of an animal's life, and see that we have these new young turtles in the population. We've never encountered them before. At that point, they'll get one of those numbers assigned to their shells, and we'll know them and track them for the rest of the time that we're trapping into the future. The important things that people can do for northwestern pond turtles, and really freshwater turtles in general, we only have painted turtles and northwestern pond turtles that are native freshwater turtles in Washington, so there's only 2 species. And what's important is really protection of their habitat. If you have a pond or a wetland in your neighborhood, you can advocate for the protection of that area. Another important thing is that there's a lot of people who have pet turtles and they don't realize how long they live. So a lot of these pet turtles can live 30, 40, 50 years. That's a really big commitment. And what a lot of folks end up doing is saying, I can't take care of this turtle anymore. Oh, there's a wetland in my neighborhood. I'm gonna put the turtle there. Well, unfortunately, that's really bad for our native turtles. They can't compete against these invasive turtles, or they're competing for food and resources. So that's one thing to know if you're considering getting a pet turtle, or if you know someone who's considering that, maybe help educate them on kind of the commitment it takes to have a pet turtle. And then just learning about and talking about turtles and northwestern pond turtles in general. You know, they're a very charismatic species. Everyone loves turtles, but also this habitat is great habitat for many other species that are not so popular, maybe that people don't talk about as much. So these ponds and wetland habitats are really worth protecting, not just for the turtles, but for a lot of other species as well.